Welcome back, everybody, here to the Cowboys Fan Show, our kickoff episode of the show here. And now in our third segment, we're going to go ahead and look ahead to next week's game and look back at what our opponent did this last weekend. So we're facing the Philadelphia Eagles, division rivals, coming off a not very impressive game on Monday night against the Falcons. It was more of a tale of two halves there, as the Eagles' first half really didn't look too hot, but the second half they were able to get it in gear, and the Eagles looked like the Eagles in the second half. Mm-hmm. So what's your takeaway from that first game from the Eagles?
They're not going to be happy, and which makes things even more difficult for us, or maybe easier actually. They're going to be hungry next week, but it was the same old thing basically. Their goal is to exhaust the other team's defense. By the fourth quarter, it was very evident that they were successful at doing that, and they almost pulled that out.
But using that strategy, we saw them fall behind by a score of 20-3 there in the first half. And we know today's NFL, you got to go in there prepared to score 50 every game. The game has changed. I don't think that's going to be able to work for the Eagles if they're going to wait until the fourth quarter of every game to get their offense in gear and actually going.
The flaw with their system is that if they don't get points and they get 3 and outs, they're in trouble, because the opposite thing can end up happening, and their defense can start getting spent because their defense starts spending too much time on the field. So they really need to come away with points on almost every series if they want to be successful.
Yeah, and DeMarco Murray had, I believe it was 8 carries for 9 yards. It's not what you're used to seeing out of last year's NFL rushing leader. Quite frankly, I think he doesn't fit well in that offense. I think the horizontal game that the Eagles are trying to run with DeMarco Murray, I don't think it suits his game. He's more of a downhill runner. He needs to get in between the tackles, the A gap, the B gap. C gap's not so much, but the Eagles are running him sideline to sideline every play. I just don't think it fits his playing style.
Right, and they don't have the offensive line that the Cowboys do, and I think that's why Chip Kelly took out the insurance policy with Ryan Matthews. If things aren't working out with DeMarco Murray, he's going to have a viable second running back that he can go ahead and plug in there. But it is still hard for me to believe that Chip Kelly's going to run the ball and commit to the run as much as everybody seems to think that he is. I just don't see that being the focal point of that system.
Yeah, and I think, too, that first half for the Eagles did have a lot to do with the total turnover of the team that they have. If you look at Eagles rosters from, even 2 years ago, you have Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn McCoy, Jason Avant. Those guys aren't there anymore. Those guys were really the cornerstone of the Eagles. And now, I don't know if that first half was just, the new team trying to get used to each other, trying to get it, used to Chip Kelly's offensive system. I really don't know, but the Eagles did not look good in the first half.
And that's the sacrifice that, I think Chip Kelly is willing to make, because ultimately he wants to get his guys in there. He doesn't want the guys from the previous regime. He wants to get the people that he's picked, that he trusts. And so, yeah, that may be, something that's going to work against them a little bit this year, is the fact it's going to take a while to get that team to gel. Right,
and, they're already 0-1 with the potential of being 0-2 after this next week's game. Now, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, because the Cowboys are missing Dez Bryant along with Randy Gregory, as we mentioned. But, looking ahead, I kind of like the Cowboys' chances.
Well, we were 8-0 on the road last year, if you recall. And ultimately, I prefer going into a situation like we're going to face in Philly, where we're going to be the underdogs, they're going to be hungry, we're going to have to be focused, as opposed to last week where everybody was kind of expecting, the Cowboys are going to win this. New York doesn't look real well or real good. They have some problems. So I actually prefer going into a hostile territory.
Right, and I think this is going to be a great setup for the Cowboys. Second week of the season. What's better than going to your arch rival's house, and coming out hopefully with a victory, but the Cowboys can really bury the Eagles here.
Right, and also facing facing your old running back who apparently a lot of people want to give a lot of credit to for last year's success. And I mean, I agree he deserves a good dose of credit, but certainly not all of it.
Right, so looking ahead here to the Cowboys and Eagles, we're going to go ahead and get to our keys to the game. So my keys to the game here for the Cowboys on defense, you have to stop the run. Once the Eagles get the run game going, that opens up, the options and all of the play action passes. Cowboys have to stop the run. And on the other side of the ball, the Cowboys have to commit to the run. The less time the Eagles offense is on the field, the better for the Cowboys. You have to control the clock. And the last key for me is to be aware on defense. We've heard it all. Chip Kelly's offense runs a play every 22 seconds. That is the fastest in the NFL. Second fastest, I believe, was about 26 seconds. So the Cowboys have to be aware on defense, getting those defensive sub packages in and out, and seeing where everybody's lining up.
Good keys. My keys are going to be basically you got to control the clock. You got to keep their defense on the field, keep their offense off of the field. The second and third are kind of together in the sense that you got to not turn the ball over, and you got to take advantage of taking the ball away from them when the opportunity arises.
Absolutely. And stay right here with us, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back for predictions for next week as well as game MVPs from this last week. Don't go anywhere.